What's up, breathing people? It's episode 33 of Just Breathing with Laud Lungs, joined by my wife, Brittany. I got the episode right this time. And yeah, it's going to be a good night. I had a topic that I wanted to get into, but I wanted to ask you first. How's your day?
I feel like you're about to ask me a super personal
no, I'm really not.
question or something. I'm like starting to sweat.
No, but we always get to these podcasts, and then I realize that because I'm working all day at home, you're dealing with children all day at home. We live like separate lives,
right,
within the same house.
Yeah,
like it's crazy.
Yeah.
So, how was your day?
It was a good day.
Yeah,
we got a lot done today.
Good.
Yes.
Glad we got that out of the way. Yeah. I was talking to you about something that I just learned about today that I thought would be interesting to talk about, and I really wanted to get your opinion on it because I think you could bring some valuable insight, experience that I wouldn't really be able to bring to the conversation.
This is surprising.
Well, no, not really. Not really. You're a different gender. That helps with a lot of conversations. So I heard today, and it was kind of, it blew my mind at first just because I never expected this to happen. Like the stupidest things get canceled nowadays. Like literally the stupidest things. Like let's just go back to June of 2020.
Oh goodness!
Do we have to go back there? June of 2020 goes crazy. You had the George Floyd thing, and then it was madness after that. Yeah. So much racist things going on, race-related things, I should say. A lot of racism too, but you had like Aunt Jemima getting canceled.
Oh yeah. What's up with that?
Which is hilarious because you have a black representation on a syrup bottle and you're like, take it away. Let's put a white person on there. Like
whoever even thought about that?
Yeah.
Like isn't
Uncle Ben's rice. Like what? It's good. Who cares?
Yeah.
Very strange stuff happening. Something that happened recently, and this is not race related at all, but like it was just fascinating to me was, so there's this Christian artist, kind of like a Christian pop artist, put out a song. It wasn't exactly a parody, but it was a comical song. And it basically was about his daughters and his desire, now that they're getting older, getting into their teenage years, his desire for them to dress modestly so that they wouldn't be sexualized by men.
Right.
So that all the guys that they're looking at now and that are looking back at them wouldn't have much to look at.
Right.
Right. And it was a joke. The chorus of the song is, I want you or something like, I want you to be a little more Amish and a little less Kardashian, which is a joke.
Oh, yeah.
Also, I don't want my daughter to look like a Kardashian.
Right.
I don't think anybody's daughter should look like a Kardashian.
Right. Yeah.
I don't think the Kardashians should look like a Kardashian.
Right.
Because they're fake.
What are you saying in that, the way you look there?
Yeah. But so, such an interesting thing happened that I was completely unaware of. I saw it. It's a hilarious music video. And, he has like one scene where they're all like the whole family, like his two daughters and his wife are in the music video and they're all wearing turtlenecks.
Oh my goodness. I love it.
And like the daughters are like, oh man, like I hate this.
Yeah.
And it's just funny.
Yeah.
But the more, we'll call them progressive Christian people, kind of more left-leaning, politically Christian people came after him. And it was the strangest thing.
Sudden?
All of these
happened?
like sort of Christian feminists came out of the woodworks and some.
But why is it happening now?
What?
Did this song just come out?
So this song came out maybe a month ago.
Okay, so it is recent.
It's very recent.
Okay.
It's very recent. Maybe it was even a couple weeks ago. I don't know.
Okay.
And I shared this on my Facebook page because I thought it was funny.
Yeah.
I thought it was fun. Like that, I thought it was comical, and I was like, totally the way I would think about my daughter.
It's probably pretty much how a lot of fathers would think about their daughters.
Who wants their daughters sexualized, even if they do it to themselves?
Right,
like,
right.
My daughter, when she's 18, she's free to do what she desires to do.
Right.
I'm not going to condemn her. I'm not going to be her parent anymore.
Right.
She is legally responsible for herself. If she wants advice, she can come to me and I'll give it to her. But she is her own person.
Right.
And I want to treat her with that level of honor and respect as an individual. I never want to push myself on my children.
Right.
I want to push my values. I want to push everything that I've learned in this life onto them now so that they kind of know how to navigate.
As wise as they can
Exactly. You want to give as much wisdom as you possibly can to your children so that they can navigate this life effectively.
Yeah.
But for some reason, people just swarmed, and it wasn't regular people. They just kind of ignored it.
Mm-hmm.
It was Christian people of a certain political persuasion just decided to come after him. And it was so strange. They were saying that he was sexualizing his daughters, which is creepy. Which there was nothing creepy about this video. It was hilarious. And it was just a dad trying to keep his daughters modest.
Yeah.
Because he didn't want men looking at them in a certain way. Which is, like you said in the beginning, so milquetoast, like what every dad thinks. It's not a controversial idea.
Right.
Especially when it's put as a joke.
Right. Like we joke about all the time, or at least I've heard it joked about all the time, how the dad's on the front porch with a shotgun the first time a guy comes to pick up their daughter.
Exactly.
Why is that? Because he's like, don't mess with my daughter.
Exactly.
I know how guys' minds work.
Because I know how mine works.
Don't touch her. Don't touch her in the wrong way, Yeah. So
So it's such a wild thing to me. So a lot of people came after him. He ended up with all the pressure of, there was a Christian magazine that wrote an article about it. And then there was a lot of other musicians within the industry, the kind of Christian music industry, that came after him. And he ended up, you could tell from his Twitter post, he ended up deleting the video.
Oh, man.
And then he put out just a kind of generic apology, sorry, didn't realize
this would offend people.
Won't happen again. Type tweet. And it was,
oh goodness.
It's sad that happened because it was so, like I said, milquetoast. There was nothing controversial about this video.
Yeah.
I'm sure people can still find it out there. Or you could just go onto Spotify. It's probably there too, as a song.
Right.
You could listen to the song. It's hilarious.
Yeah.
It's hilarious.
I'll definitely have to listen to it now.
He's if I ever catch, one of the verses, if I ever catch you, in a crop top, doing TikTok dancing, you'll be grounded for life. And he's just kidding. And then it cuts to his face and he's like, no, I'm not. It's funny. It is so funny.
Oh, that's great.
And the fact that there is this sect of people, and usually, and I'm not making a political statement here, but it usually belongs to people of a certain persuasion ideologically, people that are a little more woke, a little more feminist, a little more anti-racist, a little more woke, that have trouble with humor.
Yeah.
And you see this in the way that comedians get attacked.
Yeah.
I don't know what that's about. I don't know when jokes became so dangerous.
Yeah.
It's a strange thing to me, but I wanted to get your opinions because I just want to try and get into the mind of how a woman could think that by him making a desire for his daughters to be modest, like making that statement, he's in some way sexualizing them.
No, I don't agree with that at all.
And that's the claim out there, because by somehow focusing on what they wear, he is basically making them into a sexual object. Like it would matter what they wear because you're thinking about that and making them into this sexual person that really isn't. I'm trying to do my best to like give people the argument.
Yeah.
You know, that and trying to explain their argument as best I can.
Yeah.
And I just don't understand it. I don't even know where this could come from for a woman.
So I have a lot of things that I think, but I'm just going to say one thing first because it came to mind, and scripture is usually, scripture's never wrong unless you're twisting it in some way. But so just today, I think I read that like, and I'm going to butcher this verse, but it was basically saying like that people will come offering like freedom, but they themselves are basically like held captive to these sensual desires. Okay? So what I think is happening here, as sad as it is, and maybe this will offend people, but I think what is happening is people are saying, don't you dare say that your daughter can't do whatever the heck she wants. Like, don't you dare. If she feels good in a crop top and short jeans, then you better let her wear that.
Yeah.
That is, first of all, her dad is allowed to have some control over her while she's in her,
responsible for her.
While she's in his house and while she's underage, because he's responsible to take care of her and protect her and provide for her. Now that also could be debated, but so it's under the guise of let her be free, you know, like don't tell a girl what she can and can't do. But at the same time, basically you're saying, okay, so we actually don't care about you because we don't care if men look at you as a sex toy. We don't care. Yeah. We don't care if they treat you that way. We don't care if they talk to you that way. You can do whatever you want. Whereas the dad is saying, even though it's a joke, he still cares about his daughter. He's saying, I want you to be honored by the men that look at you. I want men to love you for not only your body, but who you are.
Right.
And I don't want them to be distracted by what, like, because our whole culture is about sex, basically.
Yeah.
I want them to know who you are and love you and take care of you. Yeah. And I want you to be protected. And when that time comes where you're married, and that's different. But
yeah, it's a strange thing. There's a couple things that I kind of want to get into from what you're saying. The first thing that, just to stick on the scripture point, another thing that we read recently in scripture, and I believe this is all in 1 John, but just the I want to say it correctly, but basically women shouldn't kind of define themselves by their outward appearance. Like the scripture was saying, women don't define yourself by your outward appearance.
Right.
You know, don't try and find your worth in like your hair, in the jewelry you wear, in your makeup, any of those things, but let it says your gentle and peaceful spirit be the thing that is your beauty, because that's what's beautiful to God.
Yeah.
And like people, I kind of want to get into this because I find it fascinating. So a lot of women, in the name of freedom, and that could be sexual freedom, that could be just social freedom, cultural freedoms, whatever they're trying to obtain for their gender. A lot of that freedom is basically, we just want to be more like men.
Yeah.
I don't actually find it freeing in any way, or making yourself like, freedom to me would be like, I am now more desirable. Because wouldn't you agree that you would get more opportunities? You would get better relationships. You would get like, I find that as a better source of freedom than acting more like men. I find that actually for women, because we're so different, and the way that we view each other, men and women, is so different.
Right.
Like men highly sexualize a woman.
Yeah.
Women don't highly sexualize, on average, a man.
Mm-hmm.
And like, so the fact that you want to be more like a man and be free with your body is fine. You have that right, and you are free to do that. But you can't be free with your body and put restrictions on men to not sexualize you for your sexual freedom.
Yeah.
And it's like, and I find this in so many areas, that the freedom is just, I want to be more like men.
They don't think that, even though that is the direction. They're leaning in that direction and doing what you're saying to be more like men, but they would not think of it that way.
But it's always the argument. I mean, I want to vote because men vote.
Mm-hmm.
Legitimate. You know, I want to have the same rights that a man would have.
Right.
Yeah, I agree. That is equality to me. And now we're getting into like the equality of, I don't know if it's equality of perception or the quality of, I don't know what the right term for it would be, but like the equality of sexuality. Let's just take that example. During the 70s, 60s, and 70s, the sexual revolution happened. Women were like, we need to be free to have sex and be with who we want, when we want, how we want.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's fine. Because that's what men do.
Mm-hmm.
Or are assumed to do.
Right.
And it's just interesting to me that like it's always that. There's not like a nuanced, like, best for a woman's standard of what equality looks like.
Yeah.
It just means that I am equal to a man, and if I'm not equal to the man in something, I must be able to put some type of restriction on that man to gain that equality.
So I think it really is.
And I know I'm mansplaining right now and like all of that type of stuff. And this is coming from a man, but that's what it seems like. It doesn't seem like you're ever searching for some new thing that you've defined that is freedom or equality according to what's best for you as a woman.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what if you could have had sexual, and I'm using you because you're a woman sitting across from me, but like, what if you could have had sexual freedom within certain boundaries that benefit you best, psychologically,
but the boundaries
emotionally?
Is the problem.
Right.
Like, now I agree with everything you're saying, but once again, boundaries sound not like freedom.
Right.
So it has the guise of this whole what women and our whole culture is trying to do is gain freedom.
Right.
But it's not actually freedom, because freedom only comes in boundaries.
Right. I mean, I don't have the shirt on tonight. I usually wear a shirt that says like discipline equals freedom.
Right.
And we've talked about that in the past. Like when you put boundaries on your life, whether that's in your health, whether that's in your, physical health, emotional health, mental health, when you're able to put boundaries on how much time you spend on social media for your mental health, how much time, you're whatever, you're putting boundaries on certain areas of your life, you will gain more freedom in those areas. Right. People that have a schedule are so much more free than people that are just putting it in their mind and trying to keep track of
everything.
All of their stuff. They're going to get overwhelmed and stressed out.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a fact.
Right. And it's hard. It is hard. Like, you say that phrase and it doesn't sound like it's right, but it is.
Yeah.
But then just to go back to something that you were saying. So like, I feel like in the beginning when like, women were fighting for rights and stuff, like it was not that all of it was perfect, but some of it was really good. Because women were treated less than in a lot of ways.
Right. First wave feminism.
Right.
Yeah.
But now, at least in my eyes, it seems like, because we're not okay with authority as a culture. We're not okay with like the idea that we all have valued roles to play.
Right.
Like that, for whatever reason, that's another thing that I think sounds like oppression, even though it's not.
Certain roles,
which is good. Like we have that in everywhere. Right. You have roles.
Yeah.
Whatever. But so I think women are like fighting to be like, I have to be on top. And I don't think it's equality anymore, even though they would say it's equality. It's basically like, we need to dominate you.
Right. Because we've been dominated.
Maybe that, yeah.
And I think there's some truth to that.
But even so,
I'm agreeing with you, but I'm also just trying to give to the other argument, which is yes, but
right. So women want to just be basically above, like better than men, and I think a lot of women sometimes think that they are, especially the way culture portrays men anymore. Anyway, but then the problem with that is, I think what a woman really wants, and I would disagree with like them working to be like more desirable. I think what women actually want is to be cherished by.
That's what I mean by desirable. I guess I should clarify that. Desirable doesn't mean sexually or physically.
Right. I knew what you meant.
Desirable meant like emotionally, relationally, desirable to not only just for sexual partners or for, more intimate relational partners of any kind, like to your friends,
right,
to your coworkers,
right,
to your family. It seems like there are qualities that would be more desirable and beneficial for the people around women if they sought those things.
And I think that they are, but they're doing it the wrong way, right? Because if you are seeking to be cherished by that man that maybe you're married to, or maybe you're dating, or maybe that's why you're barely wearing any clothes, is because you want to be cherished by someone.
Yeah.
Okay. So now, whether it's you're barely wearing any clothes, so now you're getting the attention you want, but it's not because of who you are, because they cherish you. It's because they want to have sex with you. Or you are now dominating your husband or your boyfriend, and you desire to be, maybe you wouldn't admit this, but protected and cherished and loved and provided for by him, but you don't give him any room to do that.
Right.
Because you're in charge. Right. And he can't mess up. And if he does, you're going to shove his face in the dirt.
Yeah, because you're a strong, capable woman.
So now you just put this poor guy who you desperately want to love you and cherish you, and you just made him feel like an idiot. And
I think we talked about this before, but like, yeah, there's been a change in verbiage that I think has been very detrimental, whereas a lot of women desire respect more than
being cherished.
What you're talking about, more than being cherished. And I think they desire, and this is psychological, but like they desire more emotionally to be cherished. Respect is more of a male thing. Respect has always been more of a male thing. But because men had it, women desired it. And now it's in the lexicon now, of what is needed to be a equal participant in this life, for a woman, yeah.
And women should be respected and honored. Like men should see the work that they do in their role and be like, that is valuable work. Like they should be honored and respected.
But maybe that respect needs to see there are ways that men show respect to other men that maybe wouldn't translate into the emotional qualities that women actually desire.
Yeah.
Right?
I would probably not say respect if I was speaking personally.
Well, how much would actual respect bring to you emotionally?
Well, that's why I said I wouldn't use the word respect. I would use the word value. Like I would want my husband to value the
That's
work.
What cherishing is.
Right.
Well,
not only value me, but value what I do.
Right.
Like, wow, she does do a lot around the house. She takes care of all of these things. Like, not only is now he cherishing me, but he values what I bring.
Right. Or even if you go to work, valuing and cherishing that.
Right.
Instead of respecting you. I respect the way that you, like, I just don't, it's never meant anything to you. And this is anecdotal evidence.
Yeah.
But like, it's never meant anything to you for me to respect you as a person.
Yeah.
Me, 100%.
Right.
I want you to respect the things I do, respect, me as in whatever I'm doing.
Yeah.
That means so much to me as a man. But it's so different, and it's frustrating when I see women sort of fighting for things that I'm like, I don't know if you believe that.
Yeah.
Or I don't know if you're actually, maybe these women are just not happy.
Well, so I know I just got all like hot and fiery about these women who are doing this, but I think like I know I'm being hard on them, but I think that is actually probably a big part of it. I don't know. Maybe they haven't really been honored and respected.
Right.
In their life.
Yeah.
And so they're fighting for something that they haven't experienced what they should have experienced. And I don't know, because I feel like I don't know many women like that, like the people we're talking about. But I would think that their childhood experience and their adult experience has not been like ideal.
Right.
Like where their relationships with the authority man in their life, whether that was their father or their current boyfriend or husband, or male partners. I would think that, because they're fighting for, like, because I had a great dad, and like I always had good men in my life that I was like, yeah, like that's the kind of person, like that's how I want to be treated. Like I would have never allowed myself to be mistreated in high school, because I'm like, I get treated better by my dad and my brother than you. Like, I'm not going to be mistreated in that way. And so I think that's a good reminder too.
That is a really important first step.
Yeah.
And that's a huge factor and a consequence, honestly, of feminism is there's direct correlations between the rise of feminism and the decline of fatherhood in America. And I don't think there's been a whole lot of studies on this really linking those two things.
Yeah.
So I'm just making an observation here. I'm not stating this as fact, but it is interesting when you do look at graphs. I mean, there is data that has tracked these things, maybe not studied the correlations, but that with the rise of feminism in the 60s, there are other factors that have gone into play, because also in the 60s, welfare started, and that's been attributed to a lot of father absence in poorer communities.
Right.
Directly resulted with the rise of welfare. And it was noted as, well, let's not get into that. But there's actual evidence to that correlation. But feminism rose, like second wave feminism, third wave feminism, and now we're getting into what people think is maybe fourth wave feminism, where they're attacking things like it's a strange thing. I'm trying to wrap my mind, like seriously, I'm trying to really understand people's arguments. I want to understand so that I can just, some people just kind of clap back with another statement, and like, I don't want to do that. So I want to truly understand what they're fighting against. Right. And to me, from a lot of the statements that I've read and that I've listened to when I heard about this today, a lot of the statements seem to be rooted in past experience. And I know that there's a lot of Christians that have been hurt. There's probably anybody listening to this podcast that's not a Christian have been hurt, possibly, because this is a largely Christian nation, probably have been hurt in a church or had a terrible experience in a church. Maybe a zealot pastor that decided to show how much of a strong Christian he was by calling you out on something in your life, maybe when he was like a fat glutton or something.
Right.
there are millions and millions of stories like this. And it seems like, from what I've seen, that a lot of people that grew up in the 90s, 2000s, things like that, it definitely has been earlier that other things of that nature have arisen. But like, there was this, I'm mostly focusing on that time period because of the age of a lot of the people that are having issues with something like this song.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I mentioned the song's name. It's Modest is Hottest is the name of the song, which is hilarious even in itself. But
I love that.
Yeah. But it seems like a lot of the people went through this sort of weird phase in the church where a lot of like purity related things, purity in sexuality was being pushed by the church, which is not a terrible concept. No. But it was pushed in weird ways that felt very oppressive to people. Sex wasn't taught properly.
Oh, that's a big problem
in the church. Like,
still is.
Like, sex is a fundamental part of the Bible.
Oh, yeah.
And the fact that the church never teaches it in a beautiful way and really highlights the true beauty of sex in the church was an issue.
Yeah.
And it seemed to mess a lot of people up. It definitely messed me up. I went through that in the 90s and the 2000s and all of that. You know, there was a lot of purity rings. There was a lot of books that you weren't allowed to like kiss your partner until you got married. Like there was a lot of just odd stuff going on through that period. And it seems like the reactions and the tweets and the articles that kind of came out against this song stemmed from past experience, negative experience in the church. And that's disheartening. Don't get me wrong. Like, I hate that.
Right.
I really hate when people are hurt by the church.
Yeah.
Like, I don't take that lightly. And like, and you know, from our church, we don't put up with that type of stuff. There's no one going around, you know, and calling people out on their sin, because we all realize that in an unhealthy way.
Right.
There are definitely people who will say, hey, this is sin.
Right. There's ways and times to do that.
It's not in front of people. No. You're not going to embarrass somebody. And that's what happened a lot with these bad experiences. It was a public thing, or it was they made a mistake and then it became you had to apologize in front of the congregation, and just a whole lot of bull that went on. That doesn't fly in my church. But yeah, I see it stemming from that, and I wonder if that's kind of for this issue, for this topic, if that's where it's stemming from. I don't know.
I'm not sure if I don't fully understand the logic behind it, and I don't, because it's not grounded in truth, we can't fully understand the logic behind it. But the one thing that comes to mind that maybe is a good starting point, like if I knew someone who believed this, to kind of be like, because I think so many times we say like I don't agree with that, or like maybe feminists are saying like, that's a bad song, bad, go away, instead of like, let's like figure out, well, what do we want men to be like? You know, like instead of just thinking about women,
there's never any advice,
right? Like,
there's only condemnation, which is kind of hilarious. All right, so just to stick on, I'm sorry to cut you off, to stick on my point about a lot of these people seem to have been hurt in the past, and they're kind of coming out, or maybe that hurt fueled them to go down a path where they sort of picked up some more secular ideologies like feminism and brought that into their Christian worldviews. And it sort of defined them in their current stances. And what were we talking about? I totally blanked. Like,
oh, it's okay.
Mid-explanation.
What should men be acting like?
Yes. Okay. So it's interesting to me that you have these past experiences, and then the thing that is being offered is condemnation.
Yeah.
So you have usual past experiences that are involved with condemnation, hurtful circumstances, shame, things like that. And then they go out, they get new ideologies to kind of deal with the hurt that they received from the church. And then they come back and use shame and condemnation. I mean, I don't want to just like make a blank statement for all the people that came with criticism and stuff, but it seems like hurt people hurt people.
Well, yeah, we know that's true.
And that's just it. That's what it feels like to me.
Right.
It feels like a lot of people that have been hurt in the past now need to hurt somebody else.
Right.
And
in the name of saving other people.
And they're looking at things that are so minuscule. They'll use anything.
Yeah.
They're like, this is good enough.
Right.
And maybe that's why jokes get attacked so much. Because it's like, they know it's a joke, but if you could turn it serious, it's an easy, like if you put a joke in writing sometimes, might not look too good.
Right.
Might not look too good because you don't have the inflection, you don't have the build up to it, and you don't have the part afterwards where they're like, ha ha ha,
yeah,
that was a joke.
Yeah.
So if you take things out of context like that, it's very easy to make them serious, to make them into an issue, and then to put your hurt out on another person. Maybe that's what's happening. Maybe it's just a lot of hurt people are like, you know what? I'm going to hurt you for this thing that obviously is a joke.
Right.
But if it wasn't, if you actually wanted your daughters to be Amish, even though they're wearing shorts in the video.
Yeah.
I'm going to hurt you.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know.
I don't like the whole, like, that this is becoming a thing now, though. It's a little disturbing to me, like, that now, like, even people, like, just random people, I guess not random, they're religious people, are, like, starting to cancel people now. Like, this is not okay. Like, let's stop. But let's stop now.
Yeah, but it's always involved social issues.
But I don't has that, like, I feel like we weren't canceling people before 2020. At least not to this extent.
Oh no, we were definitely canceling people, but now the game is on.
Now it's just people like a thing we do.
Well, people had enough time to learn Twitter over this pandemic when they were locked in their houses, and then they find a tribe, they find a group, they're like, oh, this is fun. I could get attention, and I could also inflict pain because I'm hurting, or I'm depressed, or I'm anxious, or I'm stressed, and I could just kind of vent and get that out on a person that everyone else is doing it.
Yeah,
they're attacking, they're contacting this person's job, and why he'll find another job, or she'll find another career, or whatever. Like, it's just a game.
It's so bad. I'm not okay with it. I'm against it.
I think the majority is against cancel culture.
Yeah.
I mean, when you actually look at the people that are doing the canceling, and this is what kind of pisses me off about corporations, but I wonder how much it benefits them. I'm not going to get into that tonight, but like, it bothers me that it's such a small percentage of people that cancel people or try to go after people's jobs or careers or things like that, and the corporations give into it.
Yeah, like, why do they give it? Is it because they don't want to look bad? Their name, they don't want their name to look bad.
It's to the point where, like, it is, and I'll answer your question, but like, it's single digit percentages.
Oh wow,
of people going after people. Now it's a lot. It's lots of people in global populations.
Right.
These are global social media networks.
Yeah.
But like, it's still a fraction of the total population of the world.
That's why we need to get that out there so people aren't scared to like be canceled. Like, just do your thing. Don't stop. And then eventually, like, no one is going to care.
Well, people are afraid though, because corporations are giving in.
Yeah, that's true.
There's a whole host of people within this past year that has been let go from their jobs because the mob came.
That's crazy.
And the mob threatened to not purchase from this business and put out negative reviews and said, don't shop here, don't buy here, don't go here, don't invest here, don't whatever. And the corporations are like, hey, I'm sorry, here's a stipend, like we got to let you go so that this passes. Two things. Corporations don't understand that it'll go away by itself.
It will, yes.
Everybody that gets canceled, it's for like a day.
Yeah, and I feel like it'd be pretty even too. Like sometimes if you really care, or maybe this is just me, but if you really care that like that corporation just let go those two people or those group of people, like you stop supporting them now because you're like, I can't believe you just did that.
There's a lot of that.
So like
I've done that. I've done that.
Yeah. So it's kind of like an even trade because you're like, you really just stooped that low.
I know. I've seen corporations put out certain things and I'm like, darn it, I like you.
I know.
I like you, but now I can't support you.
It's true.
And I think there's a large it's hard because I think there's a large majority of people that also feel that same way. Maybe not all have the convictions and the ability or the kind of courage to just say, I'm not going to support you. I really like you.
Yeah.
You're my source of entertainment, or you're my favorite beverage, or you're my go-to restaurant, or you're my whatever it is.
Yeah.
And they're like, not everyone can be like, and I'll never touch you again.
Yeah. That's true.
Yeah.
Going back though, can we go back to this?
Yeah.
So like, I do want to talk about this because I don't think I didn't really think about this until this conversation, but like,
oh, that's good.
When it comes to the whole like feminist movement, like as soon as you hear that word, like all you're thinking about is women and what they are doing and what they're trying to do. But like, I think the real question is to ask them and us, like, okay, so we know what you want to do, but like, what do you propose men do? Right. And like to really get like some thinking going and some honest answers. Now I know that we would all have different opinions probably on what men should do, but if the culture, and now this is kind of me talking, like if we the people started to actually hold men accountable to be the men that really they should be. Now this is where the disagreements come in because probably feminists wouldn't agree with what I'm saying. But like, if we were like, no, you need to stay with that family that you just impregnated that woman or whatever. Right. Or you need to support her in some way. Like you need to be there for that child. Like if we were like, be responsible. Like, why should we respect you if you can't be responsible?
Well, there's a feminist argument that child support is not equal. Like, if you're going for equality, why do you need a man to take care of your child?
Right. So they're going all the way off the track here.
I shouldn't make that a feminist argument. There is an argument, mostly made by men, that are paying child support.
Right.
That like, how is this fair?
Right.
How is this fair that like you're allowed to have sex with who you wanted? You decided to have sex with me,
and now you're
pregnant, and now I'm responsible.
Right. Okay, I see what you're saying now.
I think he is.
Right.
But women are allowed to have the state go after a guy and have him pay them money. Right. Like, how is that equality?
Right. Because
how is that, equal? Because we're not going after women.
Right.
Well, that's not true. In some cases, the father has the child and the woman is paying child support.
That's rare, but that does happen,
Yeah, it's rare. But in either of those circumstances, is that, I don't know. There's an argument to be made.
Oh, I can understand that argument.
Yeah, why is it the state's responsibility to come after the person that you decided to have sex with?
Right. Because usually you think of the man just being like, oh, I don't really want to take care of this kid, and they go. But Maybe it is. Maybe it could have been the woman being like, this is what I want to do. And now I happen to be pregnant. Right. And then they're like, you need to do this. Where the guy was like, I never meant for this to be a long-term relationship. You know? So there you go. That's not freedom. Mm-hmm. Like, if we're going to go back, like, if you want to have sex whenever you want, and you want to be cherished by someone, and you want a dad for your kids, and you want all these things, you can't do whatever you want. Like, it goes back to the boundaries. Like, you can't do whatever you want, because now you're going to have kids with 5 guys, and they're not going to be around because you can't have 5 husbands in your house. That would be weird for you and your kids. Yeah. Like, and for that man, he doesn't want to do that either. Right. But yeah, it's just, I think we're all mixed up on like how we value ourselves and how we value the opposite gender, and we don't value our different roles, and yeah. But I think that we should hold our sons and men more accountable to be those people. If you believe that that's how they should be, if they should take care of their family and provide for them and be there for them, then we should teach our sons that, and we should not be okay with the culture portraying men as being able to just have sex with whoever they want and glamorize them in that way. That's not cool. Yeah. That's not beneficial to the family or the community. Like, I don't know. This is my problem with all our entertainment and the things we watch and listen to. I'm like, okay, we're making it look cool on screen, but how is it working out in our culture? Right. Is it working out well? Yeah. No, it's not.
Well, I even have an issue with a lot of times in the name of, I'm trying to think of what the term they would call it, but I guess it would be representation, like trying to be more representative. And I'm not talking about diversity. I mean, just more representative of people's living situations in movies, in TV, in any type of entertainment. There's a lot of depictions of divorced people. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of depictions of single moms or single dads. There's a lot of depictions of things that I don't think are desirable circumstances for people's lives.
Well, they're not, yeah.
But what I'm saying is, like, you would think it would be more beneficial to have a show that kind of painted a really good picture of a healthy family for you to replicate.
Right.
Or, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like, wouldn't it be great? And I haven't seen this in a long time. Wouldn't it be great to see a movie or to see a TV show where like someone's marriage was awesome?
Yeah.
Like just healthy, open communication, just love to the bajillionth degree, right. and just awesome. Yeah. Where you're like, gosh.
We did. We saw 2 movies.
Which ones?
That recently. The one we just watched.
Oh, The Tomorrow War?
The Tomorrow War.
Yeah, that was good.
And another, this is funny because I don't actually watch like scary movies that often, but The Quiet Place.
That's true. Quiet Place is old now.
Yes.
So there's a lot of movies in between. We haven't seen Quiet Place 2 yet, but like Quiet Place 1, very good movie.
And I feel like there's definitely that's a rarity, but there's definitely been some others I can't remember right now.
But it's a rarity.
It is a rarity.
You understand my point. Like, it's usually like you have a strong woman, a bumbling idiot husband, and usually it's either they have step kids, because they're in a new marriage, and so you have ex-wives, and you're dealing with a lot of elements.
Yeah.
In those stories, and that's more representative of the average person,
because they want the average person to connect.
Exactly. So there's a 50% divorce rate in the church. I actually think it's higher in the church than it is outside of the church. By church, I mean like in Christianity, which is hilarious because we like push like marriage. Everybody should get married, and then we all get divorced. That was a weird sound.
That's sad.
Yeah, and then we all get divorced. So. I don't know. I would love to see that. more in filmmaking. Yeah. I would love to see that more in movies and in books and things like that, just so people had something to aim for.
Yeah.
Like, most people don't want to get married nowadays because their parents' marriage sucked. They saw their grandparents' marriage and they were always like, angry at each other and bitter. And I get it. I totally get it. But luckily I was able to see some healthy marriages and know that, or read about them and understand the value of them so that I could have one.
Right.
And it takes discipline and it takes work.
Right.
But you can have it for yourself. And like, I think if more people knew that, like, you could have the thing that you honestly, if you were actually honest with yourself, desired most. You want that perfect relationship and you could have it.
Right.
And like with guys, like, you don't want to sleep around.
Right.
You really don't. You think you do. And I think I do sometimes, but you don't.
Right.
And all you have to do is just look at examples.
Right.
There is a pool of examples of men whose lives suck.
Right.
That have all the money, all the sex, all the prestige that you could have, and their lives suck.
Right.
So just learn.
Right. Just
learn. And yeah, I wish there was more examples out there. I wish there was and there are. I love.
It's a good, I'm sorry to interrupt you.
No, go.
But you know what is a good movie? Oh, this is very old. I have no idea how old this is. But we watched it probably within the past year. But
is this going to make us look Amish?
No, okay. Maybe. The C.S. Lewis, was it that one? Like the remake? Yeah. That movie.
Shadowlands.
That is based on a true story.
Yeah, that is a very good movie. That's Anthony Hopkins is C.S. Lewis in that movie.
Yeah.
And he's such a good actor.
It was so good. And it was also even better because you were like, wait, this really happened?
Yeah.
And you were like, this is a love story.
Yeah, if you don't
know that. This is a real love story.
If you don't know that story, the book is... The book, it's been a while since I've read the book, so I can't recommend that. But the Anthony Hopkins Shadowlands movie, based on the life of C.S. Lewis and his relationship with, I don't remember her name, his wife, doesn't matter, is such a good tale.
That's a worthwhile watch.
Yeah.
Or read, I guess. I didn't read the book, but.
Yeah. It's an interesting one too, because it's not a perfect situation.
No.
She's coming from she's coming from America. He lives in England.
Yeah.
She's coming from America to visit him because of her kids' love for the Narnia books.
Right. It's not a romantic thing at first. No.
And she's
especially, I am not going to give away any of the movie, but it's
I'm basically just and she's going away from a very difficult marriage herself.
You shouldn't have said that part.
Why?
Just because that's something you don't expect.
Oh, sorry. Plot twist. Well, not really. It's pretty open in the beginning of the movie. I know,
but you still didn't expect that when you find out. But.
Sorry. It'll still be a good movie for you.
It will.
But will. That's kind of the beginning of their story, and it's beautiful. It really is a beautiful, beautiful movie too.
Yeah.
I totally forgot how good that movie was. Right. I knew the story. I've heard the story 100 times just because I follow that whole group, the Tolkien and Lewis and a lot of those Inkling writers. But they're out there. Those examples of things like that and the movies and shows are out there. Not a whole lot of recent ones though.
I really when you first said that you wish there was more examples. Not that I didn't agree with you, but I was like I understand they're trying to connect with, the people that are living this kind of life.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I actually do really agree with that, because I think about even as a young adult or a teenager, watching and listening to everything that you watch and listen to in this world, and getting wrong ideas about marriage and about sex and about just what a relationship is between a man and a woman. And like, it's like, it's a lie, first of all. And then it messes up that like relationship that you want to have. Like you have to work through that. Luckily, I had a great example of like a dad and a grandfather, and I married you, which is a great guy. But still, like those things mess you up. And I'm like, how much worse for those who don't have a good example at home as a young person, and that's all they see.
Right.
Like I say this because they don't even know what is good. How can they try to attain good when they don't even know what it is?
Right.
And I guess that's why I get so like passionate. Like this is the kind of stuff that I don't know.
Yeah,
it gets me so angry because I'm like,
because you want them to know. You want them to understand
know. Like you want them to have the fullest life that they can have, and they're being lied to.
Right.
Like we're being lied to. That like these are like for a woman, this is the way you need to look and dress, and this is the way you should feel, and this will make you feel good when this happens and when you get this kind of attention, and it's a lie.
Yep.
And I just I'm like, we're lying to our young people. Do we care about our young people?
Right.
Like I just it gets me mad too, because when you see and hear something so much, it's hard to not believe that it's true. Even when you see a good example or you hear it on occasion, you're like, well, that can't be true. Like, I don't believe that.
Yeah.
This is all I know. And I'm just like, I want better for our young people.
Yeah. And for our women. Like that's the thing. Like, I'm not an anti-feminist. I am a pro-feminist. Whatever that means. I don't know what it means, but I know I am it. And I want the best for women.
Right.
And I know that, like, I was listening to something today, and just the way that they were talking about sex and sex work for women, and just and I know that they're just kind of saying things that are in vogue to say, because there's this whole like culture around sex work right now, and like those women are empowered, and those women are
because our culture tells them they are.
Exactly. And even though we have a bajillion examples of sex workers, and I've brought this up before, of like them talking about the horrible experiences that they've had within sex work, and being very honest about it, but still that's not enough.
Gets shushed. That's right. Like,
well, it gets shushed, and honestly, they don't become like advocates for getting women out of that lifestyle. They kind of say like, yeah, it wasn't great, but I did make a lot of money.
Even though you have others not saying that. You have others saying you should get out. Like you shouldn't go in.
There are some, but those are the ones being silenced.
Right.
You know, the ones that are just like, yeah, it wasn't great.
Right.
You know, I definitely went through some things I wish I didn't.
Right.
You know, yeah. It's sad, but like I was just listening, and it was on like a podcast today, and it was just guys talking, and like the way that they were talking about it, and just sort of dismissing some of the terrible situations that women get into. Like they were mentioning, like, you know, this one guy was like, yeah, I had a girlfriend when I first moved to LA that like just once a month she would like leave and go to Dubai. And like she said, like, oh, it's like for like a telephone company or cell phone company or something like that. Like I'm doing some like modeling or something.
Wait, every year she did this?
Every month.
Every month?
Like once a month she would go and do this modeling. And then like one day, like one of his friends is like, yeah, she doesn't do modeling over there. Like there's this whole market for like sheiks and, you know, the rich people over there in Dubai to like bring women of their choice over there and just have their way with them. Like come out on my yacht and and these women are getting paid. Don't get me wrong. She was making large amounts of money, but it's not a good lifestyle. It's a terrible emotional, physical, mental lifestyle that is so detrimental for women. And it's just like, and the fact that the conversation that these guys were having were just so flippant.
Right.
Some of them kind of pushed back against it and been like, that kind of, you know, at least there was still a little bit of like, oh man. But then you had to say like the in vogue things like, hey man, do you, like, hey man, get your money. Like, you know, like it's the hustle. It's the hustle. And it's like, no, it sucks.
Yeah.
Like, why do women have to like put out so much?
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry, giving yourself up sexually, like you're putting out so much for monetary gains. That's all you get back. Like, I don't know. I'm very disappointed when I hear stuff like that because there's not like a single guy that's just like, nah, that's not right.
Yeah.
That's not right.
Yeah.
Like women, there's not, and what sucks too is like one of the guys I know is getting married. He was like an older guy, but like he, you know, he's engaged and he's getting married. And then like another guy's married on that podcast and the other guy's single, but here's like, and the one guy that's single is a very nice guy, you know, but like no one,
right?
No one's going to say anything. Like you're in committed relationships and you're not going to just be like, yeah, I mean, that's not for like, I'm glad my girl's not into that. Like I'm glad my wife's not into that, like, or wasn't into that. Cause that was just, it'd be awful to have that baggage brought into a relationship.
Right.
And a lot of men actually think that. That's what sucks is like, if you're coming in as a woman to a relationship and you have all of these past experiences, that guy's going to, I don't think men would look down on you, but they would definitely not want you ever to be open about your past.
Right, right.
You know, it's fine for men to be open and be like, yeah, I had a lot of sex before we got married and stuff like that. Men don't want to hear that. Right. That bothers men. And maybe that's something on men, but like, it's just a truth of relationships. Right. Like those men don't want to hear that. So now you can't be open in your relationship because of all of these past experiences and your man getting jealous,
right?
You know, of that.
And it's sad too, because you know, I'll take the guy's side for just a moment to say that I can see how they would think that, because it looks as if it is her choice. And she is choosing to do that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, what got her to that point that now that's okay with her? You know, like, what happened in her past to get her to that point that's okay?
Yeah.
You know?
And a lot of these situations, like with the Dubai thing, a lot of women just get out there and they're like, oh, you thought you were coming for this? No, this is the situation.
Right.
You know, and if they're like, I don't want to do that. Well, okay.
Right.
Have fun finding your way back home.
Right.
Or you could just do this and we'll pay you.
Right. Yeah.
And send you back home.
And what does that do to like a woman's worth, right? Like not even bringing in like the other things I could bring in, but like now
your self-worth.
She is less than now. Whether she will ever admit that or not, or anyone would say that about her, like, she's like, I already have all this shame and guilt on my shoulders. Like, I'm not, like, I can just do whatever now. Like, you've already, like, fallen off the cliff now, basically. And you're like, well, I know those other girls, they've never done that, but I have. So whatever, I'll just go do it again. Like, this is all I'm really good for. Or, like, I can make really good money doing this.
Yep.
Like, like, how do I live on this other budget now? And you don't even feel good enough about yourself to even think maybe I could live a different life.
Logically, rationally, whatever you want to call it, it sounds good to make the money. Some women could have like a couple experiences like that, like the Dubai thing, or just going to like a big party and getting paid for it or whatever, and they're set for the year.
Yeah.
That sounds really good. But I think worth is like such an important aspect of this whole conversation. Are you worth a monetary value, or are you worth value that is precious, that is cherished, like you said, that is worth something to someone's heart.
Right.
And maybe that sounds hippy dippy or whatever, but like, I promise you that every single person that heard me say that knows that is the worth that you desire.
Right. And you know,
and men and women.
Right.
Men and women.
Yes.
That's the worth that you desire, to know that you're worth something to someone's heart.
Right.
That their inner being feels that you are worth.
Right.
You are worthy to them.
Right.
Like,
and you're like, and then I won't talk long on this, but like, so that's probably the most important, is that now they feel like their self-worth is so marred now. But like, then we go back to like, if something is good, like we've messed up our logic. Like, whatever is good for you and your daughter, if it's not good for someone else, it's not good.
Right.
It's just not good. Okay. Like, if you don't want your daughter to be sold over there, it's not good for someone else.
Yes.
Okay. If you don't want your wife to do that, it's not good for someone else. Now, and
that's always the argument.
That's just the way it is.
Right.
Like, if it's not good for her, it's not good for anyone else, and neither is it good for men. Okay. So that guy who's buying it, if you don't want your son
purchasing
sexualizing and purchasing another person for their own fleshly desires, then it's not good for them.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not good for the person that it's happening to.
Yeah.
And like, it's just not good for anyone.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So like, this whole idea of like, well, you do you, it sounds good. And it sounds like you're not putting pressure on anyone, but really it's just mean and uncaring, because we're saying, you do whatever you want, but I don't want to be touched. But everyone else that's touched by it is going to be hurt.
Yeah.
Like that guy's wife who doesn't know that he's doing this on the yacht. How does she feel about that?
Right.
How does that guy's daughter feel about it that doesn't know about it?
Mm.
Like, it's so, we have been lying to ourselves, and it hurts everything. It hurts our culture and the people in it.
Yeah. Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed. I think on that note, we'll wrap it up. It's so necessary to have these conversations, because I don't think people are having the honest conversations, or at least, are being honest with themselves when they're having these conversations. I think they're saying what they should say or been told to say, or a lot of times it's someone that sounds smarter than you. You listen to them and then you're influenced by them. I'm influenced by a lot of people, and then sometimes go back and be like, no, I actually don't believe that.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? But like, that person sounded so smart and had the data or had the logic or whatever and influenced me. Talk this stuff out with people. That's what we do here on Just Breathing, is talk stuff out. I saved this topic because I wanted to talk it out with you, and it was beautiful, because then we really were able to dig into things on a much deeper level and a nuanced level, and just a way where we actually learned, grew, and are able to share that with other people. It's invaluable to do that, so you're not just ingrained in talking points, but you're ingrained in thinking.
Right.
Yeah. So thanks everybody for listening, watching, sticking with us through this conversation. Before you go, make sure that you like this video, share it, hit the notification bell, do all the stuff if you're on YouTube. If you're on listening platforms, make sure that you follow us, make sure that you subscribe, and we'll catch you on the next episode. Love you all.